Hey, what is up guys? Guitar Rock here. Welcome back to another Tower of Fantasy video. Now a lot of you guys have been asking me regarding teams and characters. How do you put them in a team? So hopefully today's video we're going to discuss a little bit about team building, give you guys a better idea on what you should be looking out for when selecting your characters or when building a team. So let's jump into it. Now, first things first that I've talked about on the channel, basically the most important thing you want to keep in mind is the synergy right here, the weapon resonance effect. So this is something that you want to keep in mind, right? So if you are playing a balanced team, it also depends on the characters you have, alright? So different characters will have different, what you call this, weapon resonance. So depending on what type they are. So I'll be referring to toweroffantasy.info from time to time, so hopefully we'll be able to tackle it and give you guys an idea. A crow, you can see this particular symbol. This one means attack, and this one means he's a volt element. Attack type, this is defense type, and then we also have support type. So pretty straightforward. There's only 3 types, alright? So basically either attack, defense, or support. So if you have one of each, that means you're gonna have the balanced weapon resonance. So if you have like 2 defense, you're gonna have fortitude. You have 2 attack, you're gonna have this. Most players are gonna have the attack resonance. The fortitude and the benediction, as far as I know, they are not entirely needed. Now this one seems pretty cool though. You get a lot of healing, but you don't really need that much healing. There's no spot or place for you to have so much heals. I feel like if you are a dedicated healer, you're gonna make yourself suffer in the single player game mode at least. So I don't think this is something that's necessary for now. Even for the fortitude, you don't really need 2 defenders. Having 1 is going to make a lot of sense already. So the balance or the attack one is something that you ideally want to go for. One thing that you want to know is also which character can break shield. Now shield breaking or characters that can break shield are going to be very important. Now how do we know what characters have the ability to do that? Basically, you can see there's 2 things. One is shatter, one is charge for a character's abilities. So shatter basically shows the weapon's capability of breaking shields. Alright, so the higher the shatter, the better it is. While charge basically gives them a weapon charge, basically for you to be able to use your ultimate skill, etc, right? So that's something you want to keep in mind. In your character, out of the 3 characters, you want 1 character with very high shatter to be able to help you out with breaking shield, and you want 1 character with very high charge to be able to help you out. Now what are the examples right here for characters that can, you know, do a lot of shatter? Now King is the best one. Alright, so by far you can see King has very high shatter, 12.5. Alright, so King is the best shield breaker, one of the best in the game, followed by Meryl. So these two, 12.5, they will be able to help you to remove shield as soon as you can. So the ability to remove shield is very crucial in PvE content, so that the bosses get stunned, enemies can get stunned while they get shattered, and you will be able to, charge up. Hopefully, once you are able to break the shield of the enemies, you want to immediately swap to your high charge character to be able to burst them down. Now besides King and Meryl, who else can shield break? Now Huma is pretty decent. Like, I think Huma is a bit of a balanced character. You can see she can do a little bit of both. But obviously, compared to King and Meryl, Huma is not as good as shattering. Shiro can also be a decent one at 3 stars. At 3 stars, she will be able to increase shatter by 15%, which is not bad. But King and Meryl by far is going to be one of the better ones. But something that I don't see players talk about is Echo. So I hope you guys pay attention to Echo, because Echo at C1 increased her shatter by 15%. So she has like 11 point something, and this will increase to 12.6, which I think a lot of players just sleep on Echo. So I feel like if you need a shield breaker and you don't have Meryl, you have King, please consider Echo in your team. Until today, CN players are still using Echo and NA. So NA is something that I personally, I'm a big fan of. I do use her. She attacks a little bit slow, alright? I'm gonna be frank with you guys, but I do like her because she is an ice element, so which is something that's very good. She has the ability to freeze as well, so a little bit of CC right there in terms of providing to your ally. Now let's talk about characters with high charge, characters that can give you your ultimate skill as soon as you can. Characters like Zero, you can see very high charge. Characters like Tsubasa, and of course very famous Kokorita, she has very high charge. She's able to give you the charge as soon as you can, and also you have the ability She has the ability to heal. Now, let's jump into some team building guides for now. And let's talk about a few extra things. So we're going to feature Nemesis. Nemesis right now in global server is the only character that have the Volt Resonance. Now what is the Volt Resonance? As you guys can see right here, increase Volt attack by 15% and Volt resistance by 25%. You just need to equip 2 or more Volt weapons, and that's how you get the Volt Resonance. Now let's bring you guys to some very simple chart right here. Hopefully give you guys a couple of examples. So Nemesis and Crow, I think this is a very decent team. Alright, so you can consider Nemesis, you can consider Crow for the Volt Resonance, or you can consider Samir. But this team is gonna lack one thing, which is breaking shields. So that's where either you can put King. King is a good decent option, so King can fit here depending, or you can put Meryl. So Meryl is going to be decent choice. So these two are interswappable, so you can either go with either one. This is one of the best teams that Global have access to right now. Like if you're thinking about it, consider pulling for Nemesis. The banner is still there. One of these two, you can choose between King or Meryl depending on who you like more. Their purpose is to break shield because Crow, Nemesis, and Samir does not break shield. So you need one Volt character to be in there. And one thing that I don't see a lot of players talk about is also Echo. So something that you can consider. So Echo can be, you know, she can be put here, she can be put here to replace either King or Meryl. She's also a very good shield breaker. Again, like I mentioned, she's a Volt element, right? I feel like Echo with Nemesis is actually not a bad choice. Like you can ideally remove Crow and then just put Echo here. And then now you have flexibility, alright? You have the flexibility to use one of these other characters. You can either use maybe Shiro, right? You can also use Huma. There's so much possibilities, alright? So team building is something that's, you know, it's not straightforward. It's hard to tell you what's the better team to build, but hopefully this will give you a better idea. Now what about Kokorita, right? Why don't we put Kokorita in there? Because the thing is, Nemesis can heal. You don't really need that much heals. I don't recommend like bringing like 2 or 3 healers. It just doesn't make sense. So ideally you want to have more character that's utilized on damage. Now, not many players have Nemesis. I can totally understand that. So let's remove her for now. Let's talk about a few other characters. So let's talk about Kokorita. Now, if you have her, she's going to be your main healer. And then you can also pair her with Huma. So this will give you, you know, you have one defender, one Kokorita, and then you can put a Samir in there for a balanced resonance. Now this is a pretty decent team. I do like this. Huma is decent at shield breaking, not the best. Ideally, you still want either Meryl or King, or Echo. So these three I feel like are staple. Let me see if I can. So Meryl, Echo, King, or Shiro C3 depending on who you have. This, you ideally want one of these to be able to shield break. Huma is decent but not as good as the other three, alright? So a bad team would be something like this. For example, King, Crow, and Meryl. There's a couple of issues with this team, alright? So I think this team will still work fine if the enemies is easy enough. But in terms of exploring, suddenly you're gonna run into issues. For example, you don't have a ranged character. Now ideally, ranged character like Nemesis, Samir, I do think that they provide you a lot of utility in terms of being able to hit the enemies from afar. That's one key issue that you don't have that. Number 2, these 3 characters, they have very low charge rate. So again, like I said, charge is very important. Now Crow has a charge of 8, King has a charge of 5, and Meryl has a charge of 4. And also the purpose of Meryl and King, ideally, they are the best shield breaker in the game, but you don't really need both of them in the same team. Now that's something that you want to keep in mind when you're building a team. You also want to have a purpose for the team, so preferably because they both can break shield and they both also have relatively low charge rate, you want to swap either Meryl or King with Samir. So I would highly recommend that's something that you can do. Now Samir, again, her slot is quite flexible. This slot you can also take out and put Tsubasa, which I think is going to be pretty decent. You're gonna have a decent charge rate, and also you can also put Zero in there. So you can see the flexibility. What does Tsubasa, Zero, and Samir has in common, right? They are all 3 ranged characters and they have very high charge rate. For example, Zero charge rate is 13, Tsubasa charge rate is 11.5, and Samir, her charge rate is 10.7, which is the lowest out of the 3 but still pretty decent. Now again, same thing applies, right? So you don't want to like put these 3 in the same team, alright? So suddenly if this is your team right now, you want to consider reconfiguring it because you don't have characters that can break shield easily. Alright, so with that being said, I hope that I'm clear with how you want to build your teams generally. You want to try and think and configure your characters based upon their role as a shield breaker and also their ability to be able to charge up your team. Now, I've also already mentioned in the future, in CN server, most of the teams are going to lead slightly towards the mono team element. In terms of, like, for example, right now in global, we only have Volt Resonance, but there might be a chance in the future we're gonna have multiple other resonances. For example, Claudia, I think she will have physical resonance, and then we have Cobalt B with a flame resonance. That's something that maybe global meta will shift into as well. Alright guys, so that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you guys haven't already subscribed, give this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.